So, we just did a deal with Indonesia, right? And remember, this shit's about more than just defense, right? It's about the resources and the trade lanes. And there's an interesting concept you need to understand. Remember, during the whole Cold War, we had something called MED, Mutually Assured Destruction, where we had nuclear weapons pointing at each other, and because it's mutually assured destruction, no one's going to launch. Well, the same works in energy flows and resource flows, okay? But mutually assured destruction also can happen in differing energy or resource so-called monopolies or controls over that flow, which fosters mutually assured cooperation. So China got the leverage on rare earth production, refining, and all that right now. Trump counters in the future with getting all of Southeast Asia, Oceania, the Congo, eventually Greenland, eventually Ukraine online with refining, producing, manufacturing of rare earths. But it's not live yet. So what does Trump do to counter the current leverage that China has off of rare earths? He gets a hold of oil. See how that works? So now, if China cuts off the rare earth flow, we cut off oil. Now, we get nothing from the Strait of Hormuz. And all the theater about China and the Strait right now is just fucking theater. They're going to come in as one of the guarantors of the peace, as well as Russia. They already offered to take the enriched uranium off of the Iranian hands. Because remember, China wants to come through for the old Silk Road. We got interest there for the Armenia-Azerbaijan Trump-brokered highway. Russia wants to come down, sell to Asia for all their energy and minerals and whatnot, because they're tired of dealing with fucking Europe. You know, they want more buyers, so they're not on the hook to rely on Europe to keep buying. Because they got to keep their plates spinning too, the Russians. Just like every other country has to keep their plates spinning. Now, ever since the whole Ukraine war start, Russia got smart and attacked their energy and resource flows, especially France, who's a huge part of the EU, because they were running a neo-colonial empire in West Africa. So Russia sent down the Wagner Group, flipped these governments, and cut off the resources to France, which is affecting Europe. Meanwhile, Europe does its own self-destructive policies by not having any sort of production, and by the way, blew up Nord Stream. Ha! I digress. Back down to Southeast Asia. So, not only about the rare earths and all this other stuff, but we did this deal with Indonesia. Remember, it's not just about the Strait of Malacca. Strait of Malacca is the best straits, the quickest one, cutting off transit time. But there's also the Sunda Strait and the Lombok Strait. Now, each one of those straits have their own pluses and minuses about them. The Strait of Malacca is the deepest, the widest, the best, the most transition, and quickest. Because it all matters about how much fuel consumption these tankers or these super container ships are using, right? They're even starting to use different technologies with these big ass ships. Like they'll even have like a kite they'll like shoot out and they'll take the wind and help pull it along, or they have like sails just to cut down on fuel consumption. So Thailand is eventually going to get pretty smart and get their shit together and have their own canal right here. And that'll cut off some more transit time. And that's going to be a huge boon for them. But, you know, after we extract out from our responsibilities of the strait to keeping the trade lane open, even though we don't get shit from there, we can deploy more force later on. And remember, we're also pretty close with India, and they can help out, and they already do sort of help out by keeping these trade lanes open too. But what's the point of this for our United States Navy? That we can deploy more force later on, okay? So we have partnerships all the way down the line for the first island chain. And this is all about hemming China in, because they're trying to muscle in on the South China Sea with all their fake-ass islands in order to take away fishing rights and mineral rights and trying to have control over the trade lane. And it pisses off everybody else. Not to mention they use the Belt and Road with all their loans to sucker in these third world countries so they can get control of the ports and the mines. Remember, energy and resource flows. That's what it's all about. So what do we counter? We got the second island chain, literally a bunch of old World War II airfields that we captured that we're now cutting down and revitalizing, so that way we can don't have a lot of carrier presence there, but we can have more carrier presence. We're reducing our reliance and pulling back where we're not vested. Now remember, Saudi Arabia too has also gotten smart and started sending their oil to the Red Sea to come out, sell to Asia, and sell wherever else. Meanwhile, shitload of tankers are heading their way to the Gulf of America, where, remember, we've been boosting our production. Refinery in Texas, executive order to get California back to producing. We got Venezuela back to producing. Cuba's going to fall. Remember, this is important to have at least some leverage over it so they don't shut any of this down. China got kicked from Panama Canal. BlackRock swooped in with Rubio brokering the whole thing. And, that's a massive national security right there. We got to remember, the Arctic in the future, that's this next century, it's all going to thaw. So we spend a lot on ADAC, which is in Alaska. Russia develops their ports along the Arctic. We make a play for Greenland for security and rare earths in order to have interest over these trade lanes, right? Now remember, with the Strait of Hormuz and outing the allies for, basically who was going to step up, Japan, they've been increasing their buys from us for energy. So is South Korea. They're one of our better allies. And remember, in the big switch of cashing out everybody on their sovereign debt, this whole episode created a ranking system for which allies are going to be getting paid out in poison pills, Fed notes, and Bitcoin versus assets and securities off the tokenized market. Get it? Meanwhile, we're all here watching the world fucking turn, waiting for the SAVE Act, waiting for the Clarity Act, and then we can get the event rolling while we battle for the Fed governance to make the whole shift happen. Meanwhile, Trump has concentrated on our inputs, throughputs, and outputs, but remember, it all occurs with units, method, and means to shift from the debt axis upon which our country is spinning to the axis of productivity. So we can cut out the interest payment, collapse it, basically by the Fed buying it all up. Meanwhile, we all preserve value in the new units and the new methods and means, which is the real reason why all this shift is going on, because the tech destroys the control that the Fed and the cabal basically has over the payment flows via SWIFT, via the Federal Reserve, because they can all settle in their own fucking units. And remember, man, nobody puts this shit in plain fucking language like I do. So subscribe, send a tip on the profile. It's a little money bag thing right there, because I take no fucking deals, because we need to have one honest guy do this shit.